What's up, guys? I get a lot of requests lately on how I'm building my Lynx Exclusion Devices. Here in Maine, we have to build our Marten and Fisher box to a lot of strict regulations. There's a lot of different ways you can build these things. Last season, I used about 4 or 5 different styles of boxes, and I really kind of found the ones I like the best. So this year I'm going to build a lot more of those ones that I like the best. I like a top open box. It's much easier to get to your bait. You can get behind your trap, get to your bait, you can get to the trap, you can get to the animal, all really easy. And if you're not in a state where you have to make a Lynx Exclusion device, these are great boxes just to keep your animal out of the elements, keep it unseen from other predators, and keep the fur nice. So this is a rough draft of one that I'm building right now. Couple small changes that I made to it from last year is I made the trap spring slot a little bit narrower. So this is 7 inches by 1 inch. Both of those come in under the regulation. I think we're allowed 1.5 or 1.25 inches high by 7.5 inches long. I found that if you make that a little bit tighter, you could actually jack the springs up or down to stabilize your trap even more. I'm not going to put a trap stabilizer inside these boxes because they fit so tight and nicely that with the spring slot that you don't need to. Last year, going into the season, I thought I had to have wire openings on the front and back of my traps to make them trap better, you know, getting that airflow through. So I used lobster wire on the front and either mesh or lobster wire on the backs too. But I also had some that had wood backs with drilled holes. I had wood fronts. I had wood fronts with a diamond opening, and I had wood fronts with a square opening. Here in Maine, as of now, this year, we're only allowed a 4x4 opening. Doesn't say if it has to be a square or you could turn that square and make it a diamond. I like to make it a diamond because that way you got a better chance of the animal getting through with its whiskers going wider and its shoulders getting through. But I will say, honestly, I did not notice any difference at all if I used wire or wood for those openings. I caught fur in every single one. I think this year on a lot of these boxes for the backing, I'm going to use just wood and drill holes to get a vent hole so the animal can find that bait and smell that bait better. And for the fronts, I'm either going to use, I'll probably do like a half and half, like wire and wood combo. The wire takes a little longer because I got to go to a metal brake and bend this, you know, 4 times for every single one of these. And the wood ones, you just have to cut that opening. So I'll show you how I make these and the dimensions that I use. So I'm making my box 28 inches long, not counting the added 1 inch on each end. In Maine, where our trap has to be 18 inches back from the nearest opening. I put mine 22 inches back to give up a couple inches on the trap, and then just a couple inches for the warden just to ease his mind as well and not have to measure every single one of my boxes. You could make these a little longer and have more room for the bait, but I didn't want to do that because I want that animal close to the bait, really close to that meal when he gets to the trap. So that way he has to, hopefully to finish the deal when he gets in there and start sniffing that bait. The closer he gets, I think the more aggressive he's going to get. And it leaves me plenty of room for a chunk of beaver or partridge carcass or a leg of deer or whatever I'm using in the back of that trap. There should still be plenty of room behind the trap, having 6 to 8 inches. For a hinge, I'm just using metal strapping. I think you get this in the plumber aisle. If you buy a big roll, it's a lot cheaper. Make sure you have a good set of cutters for that, and it'll snip right through. I usually cut mine, 3 to 4 inches. You put 1 screw on the side where it's going to pivot from, and then 2 screws on the other side. You can use nails for this. I prefer screws just in case I get a giant fisher in there or something goes wrong with the box. I could always take it apart and then put it back together. And I don't have any blowouts with a nail gun. Screws are pretty cheap. I'm using 1 5/8 inch, just number 6 drywall screws. They're pretty cheap and they go in pretty good and catch a lot of the wood. The wood I'm using are 1 inch boards. They're just boarding boards. If you guys need some, we actually have a lot here at the mill. My buddy's selling boards. He's got the cheapest price that I've heard of anywhere, including the big lumber yard that are usually at $1 to $1.30 a board foot. He's got them here at 75 cents a board foot, and if you buy a full lift, I think he goes down to 65 cents a board foot. So if you guys need boarding boards for a building project, a camp, or to build your boxes, and you live in Maine, feel free to contact me and I'll put you in contact with him. So I'm building these boxes custom specific to the traps that I'm going to be using this year. I'm going to be using the Belle Isle 120 Magnums, and then also the Savagou, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. These are the 5Fs. So both these traps fit this box really well. In Maine, we're only allowed a trap with a 5x5 opening with this style box, and then the box gets even crazier and bigger if you want to go to a different style trap like a 220. This box is 28 inches long. The inside dimensions are the most important for this box, and I wanted to leave some room for the trap and the trap to work and for the spring eye openings. We're coming in at 7 inches wide, and that gets you the spring eyes inside the trap and they won't bung up. And then we're 6.5 inches tall, and that gives you room for the trigger to go up or down, whether you have it a pan and it's going to be on the bottom, or whether you have your regular triggers and they're on the top. So that leaves you a little bit of room for that. Doesn't leave any room for the animal to get over it unless it's a small weasel. So that being said, that's my inside dimensions. So my outside dimensions are roughly 9 inches wide. I need 2 boards at 9 inches. And then 2 boards at 6.5. So my side boards are 6.5. My top and bottom boards are 9 inches wide. Now, you could change that around and go with a 8.5 inch sideboard and a 7 inch and an 8.5 if you want to switch them around. But this seems to work best with me, and it's going to keep a lot of the weather out. So once I do my rough construction and just get all 4 sides together like this, I'll show you how we fine tune it and get it to the next step. Since I'm building a lot of these, I built myself a jig, so that way I don't have to make my measurements every time. I just put the jig up against it, line it up flush, and then I'm just going to run my pencil in, mark that, and then keep it the same size. I mark the top, the front, and then you can mark both sides. And then I also marked my top lines on the same jig, so 7 inches and 22 inches back. Mark those, so everything's marked out right now. And the first thing I do is I flip it on its side. This is since I'm running a 1-inch slot for my trap springs, that's a Forstner bit. I recommend getting a Forstner bit. They're a lot better than just a spade bit. And set it there in the corner. Rips through pretty quick. Same. Alright, so we're done with that drill for now. Flip her back. And the next step is I'm going to run the skill saw down it. I got this set to a 45. I got my lines. Now you always want your 45 going in and in, that way your door is able to open. So you flip the box around so they're both pointing the same direction. And you're done with that tool. Come back around. Next one's going to be your jigsaw. The jigsaw. Now I'm going to show you guys. So I cut from circle to circle with my 1-inch slot, and then on the top cut I'm going past it to connect to this line right here. And then another thing I like to do at this stage is to put my hinges in. So I cut a couple hinges anywhere from 3 to 4 inches long. And you're gonna need 6 screws for those. And I got another drill so I don't have to keep swapping bits. Now it is important that you, on the hinge side, that you go the same amount on both sides. So I'm going back like an inch, inch and a half there. You put your 1 in. If you put 2 in there, it won't be able to hinge. And then on the door side, I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 in on this side for strength. Because this thing will be open and closed a lot over the course of the year. All right, got that. Drop the screw. Yep, there it is. And then while I'm at that stage, I'm gonna put the other side in. So this is my hinge side. Go back like an inch, inch and a half. As long as it's the same, it doesn't matter. You can go back 6 inches if you want. 1, 2, 3. So that's ready to go once I finish my cuts. And I'm back to my jigsaw. So I made my front cut already. The back cut, I'm just gonna follow this line. Now something new I'm trying this year is leaving this lip in this corner here. So that way I have something to pry or jack the trap and keep the trap more stable when the animal bumps into the trigger. So that side's done. This side, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna cut from hole to hole on the bottom. We're gonna cut hole to hole on the top and then continue out our front door. And then on the back, we're just gonna go straight. There you have it. So now that door should be fully functional. There you go. Perfect. You can get in, get your animal out, get your trap set, get your bait taken care of. One of the reasons I go past is I do like the door to actually be sitting on a flat spot here to hold up, just in case you get any weight on top of that or anything like that. Now I am gonna install a lock across the top of this. There's several different ones. You can put a screw and wrap a wire. There's a lot of different ways you could do that top. I don't like to have anything protruding too high up because I stack a lot of these boxes for transport or in the off season. Now let's put the back blocker on. So I'm just gonna use a board for my backer. It doesn't have to be perfectly flush all around. I'm just using scrap wood, but otherwise it should be 9 by 8, I think. So we're gonna run. This is going to help strengthen the box. And it keeps me legal with all of our regulations. Now I'm going to put a bunch of vent holes in this, so if the animal approaches from the wrong side, he can still smell the bait and maybe get a little airflow. All right, that's some Swiss cheese. And for the front of the box, this is the most important part. I'm going to show you how to make that. So here in Maine, we're allowed a 4-inch opening. So that's a 4-inch square, 4x4. And you notice how we twisted it, so now it's a diamond. It's the same opening legally, but I twisted it. That way I feel like the animal sees it as a wider opening because it's got its whiskers side to side, and most animals are a little bit wider than they are taller. So I'll show you how we make this. Have it. We have our 4x4 opening. We're going to put that up and screw it on. I carry a lot of these boxes by that. I don't put a handle on mine. I use the opening as the handle. So I'm going to add a couple extra screws. Those 4 probably were enough. There you have it. Now you can grab there. And that's your finished trap. The only thing you could do is you could add your locking mechanism, figure out which one works best for you. Some people are doing a lock like this. They'll put a couple screws in top and wrap the wires around. Tune in every night for a new episode from this wilderness trapline. The season keeps getting better and better. If you turn on your notifications for this channel after subscribing, you'll be the first to know every day when a new episode airs. Thanks for watching.